So when I say and I make a statement like the most impactful theologian that I've ever had in my life, I should probably give you the book. Not that you care, but you might. His book he wrote in 1967, I believe, the year of my birth, to this day is about the most prescient, most timeless, most incredible dynamite powder keg of theological writing that I have ever read in my entire life. So for you guys who care out there, An Ethic for Christians and Other Aliens in a Strange Land by William Stringfellow. That's the name of the book. It's probably still out of print, but you can probably steal a lot of stuff off the internet from people who either tattled a few of the important chapters from that book or what have you. You know, everything's on the internet, right? Just be careful. I'll say that name of that book again. An Ethic for Christians and Other Aliens in a Strange Land. Man, it changed my life. The caveat to William Stringfellow and Tom Warren goes something like this. We were supposed to choose a theologian for our, in the middle year of our 3-year seminary sojourn, we were supposed to choose a theologian. You know, all my classmates are choosing, Paul Tillich and Edward Schillebeeckx. I looked at my one friend who chose the Dutch theologian Edward Schillebeeckx, and the books he came out of the library with were that thick. I said, man, you're nuts. I came out of the library with William Stringfellow books. All of them are about that thick in size. But here's the deal. I said to my professor, we'll leave him unnamed because this is kind of not a very glowing light story on him. Let's just say, I said, I want to do William Stringfellow. And he said, why would you do that? It goes, because I think he's a great man and he's a great theologian. He said without batting an eye, well, he doesn't have a PhD. Well, you know what my little brain did next. Really? So I gave him his PhD theologian, Douglas John Hall. He is a Canadian. You should read some. In fact, now I'm talking about Douglas John Hall. Make a note, Jana. Douglas John Hall is an ordained minister in the United Church of Canada, and he wrote a banger of a trilogy of theology called Confessing the Faith, Professing the Faith, and Thinking the Faith. And so he was acceptable, because he has a PhD. I think he went to McGill. You went to McGill, good school. But the minute I said, I'll do Douglas John Hall then, that's fine. He goes, okay, you can do him. I went right to the library, and I said to the librarian, I need all the William Stringfellow books. He, kid you not, he dropped his pencil. He whispered quietly like this, you want to read William Stringfellow? I said, I do. I've been here 50 years. The last time a seminarian read William Stringfellow was 1974. I said, you're not kidding me. He said, I'm not. We went back in the stacks. We pulled An Ethic for Christians and Other Aliens in a Strange Land off the shelf. We opened up to the back. This is when they had those library cards in them, Honest to God, there was a stamp from some seminarian in 1974, the last time it was checked out. You can imagine the smile that came on my face. That was my entree into the mind and the heart and the soul of this white, gay lawyer from Bates via Harvard who hung his shingle in Hell's Kitchen, Harvard grad, defending the prostitutes, the sex workers, the wine bibbers, the drunkards, those misfits of society. The FBI went after him on many occasions and didn't get him. They camped outside of his house on Shelter Island. It's off the coast of Rhode Island. He used to give these great dinner parties with his partner Anthony Town, and they would drink wine and they would tuck into the roast beef, and it would go on hours for hours because what William and Anthony used to do, knowing that the FBI were posing as bird watchers in the shrubbery, was read from the Bible word for word to bore the FBI birdwatching listeners into ad nauseum. I loved me some William Stringfellow, and because First Lent next Sunday, I won't get a chance to talk about him. I just wanted to talk about him just now. Rest in peace, William, and rise in power. Amen. In his book, Love is the Way, Holding On to Hope in Troubled Times, presiding Bishop Michael Curry has a chapter entitled, Chapter 10, The Great Relationship Revival, How Love Can Overcome What Divides Us and Move Us Forward Together. I commend that book to you. I know I already gave Tom's Lenten book, Freeing Jesus by Diana Butler Bass, but if you don't like what you're reading in Diana Butler Bass, you can put Michael Curry's book on your list. Love is the Way, Holding On to Hope in Troubling Times. A major focus of chapter 10 involves how Bishop Curry was transformed by his experience going to, if you remember, the Standing Rock gatherings in 2016. Bishop Curry was asked to see what was happening there as the Sioux Nation and other tribal nations gathered to protect sacred burial sites and the water of the land from the construction of an oil pipeline. You remember that? 2016 already, time flies. Well, listen, the experience, it changed him. He learned more about the treatment of the native nations of our country. He learned more about the doctrine of discovery, which allowed the land to be taken, better yet stolen, from these First Nation peoples. And he learned about the complicity of the Episcopal Church in concert with the United States government in forcibly assimilating our brothers and sisters who are First Nation peoples. This goes on the heels of what you talked about and preached about last week, the government's complicity, the church, our society's complicity in interning Japanese Americans in those internment camps. So most importantly, though, Curry learned how care of God's creation and racial justice are connected. He writes in chapter 10, quote, I arrived in North Dakota in September of that year, unprepared for the effect that the land and people would have on me. I was born and raised in the urban density of the East. The endless brown plains and open skies immediately reoriented my understanding of our place in the world. We human beings are so small, so very dependent on the rhythms of the earth, which we do not control, and yet have thrown off kilter. Indigenous peoples are still bound to the earth in a way we in industrialized areas have forgotten. We city folk are bound to the earth too. It's just harder to see, though with the effects of climate change, it is getting clearer, unquote. What happened was Bishop Curry goes on and talks about how he was utterly transformed by this visit to North Dakota. He was not the same person after this experience. So I'm wondering, this is what comes to Tom Warren's puny little mind, I'm wondering how much have you and I, how much have we been transformed in the last couple of years? That's what I want to hold over you as I dig into this a little bit here. How much have you been transformed? How much have you been changed in the last couple of years? So much has transpired, as we all know. So much pain, so much division, so much hatred, so much violence, so much death. The last couple of years have truly forced all of us to take stock of what is of true value, what is right, what is truth. And maybe some of the moments of transformation have left us changed for good. I hope they have left us changed for good, and that really includes our relationship with God. That's where the real change, in my opinion, counts. This is what Paul is getting at in his second letter to the church in Corinth this morning, and I am quoting here verses 16 through 18 from Eugene Peterson's The Message. Whenever, though, they turn to face God as Moses did, God reveals and removes the veil, and there they are, face to face. They suddenly recognize that God is a living, personal presence, not a piece of chiseled stone, And when God is personally present, a living spirit, that old constricting legislation is recognized as obsolete. We're free of it. All of us, nothing between us and God, our faces shining with the brightness of his face, and so we are transfigured, much like the Messiah, our lives gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful as God enters our lives and as we become like him, unquote. Peterson, in his wonderful little Bible, but this is a great little Bible. This is the Message devotional Bible, which includes Eugene Peterson's personal notes and reflections. So some of you go out and you get the Message, but you don't get the Message devotional Bible, and now you're going to go out and get that too, because it gives little boxes of what Eugene is thinking as he's translating the Bible into the vernacular. And this is what he has to say about verses 16 through 18. He says here, the person of Jesus shows us who God is. When we're with Christ, we're in touch with all that we can comprehend about God. And in that environment, we're changed by what we see, changed into the likeness of Christ. If we're exposed to the sun, our skin is changed, but if we're exposed to Christ, our lives are changed. The change is a result of our relationship with Jesus. By opening ourselves up to him, we come under his influence and are changed into his likeness. Our lives gradually become brighter and more beautiful, from one level of maturity to another, from one state of development to another. I love that translation. I love that when he says, from one level of maturity to another. What does that level of maturity look like for you sitting here listening to my baritone voice this morning? Seriously. If we're not busy growing and changing, we're atrophying, we're dying, we're shriveling out. I don't see a lot of maturity in America today. Color me crazy, but I look for it all the time. Where are the adults in the room? I feel like I'm back teaching middle school. All due respect to the middle school teachers out there, because I was one of you one time. You weren't supposed to laugh, Joel. He knows what I'm talking about. My, get out of the sandbox, adults. The Message again in Psalm 99, that great psalm we heard today, says it like this, just to reframe our immaturity and to bring us up to a level of maturity. I want you to listen closely to Eugene translating Psalm 99 today. God rules, right at first, verse 1. God rules. On your toes, everybody. He rules from his angel throne. Take notice. God looms majestic in Zion. He towers in splendor over all the big names. Great and terrible are your beauty, O Lord. Let everyone praise you. Yes, yes, holy is his name. Strong king, lover of justice. You laid things out fair and square. You set down the foundations in Jacob, the foundations of stone, of just and right ways. Honor God, our God. Worship his rule. Holy, yes, holy. Moses and Aaron were his priests. Samuel among them prayed to him. They prayed to God, and he answered them. He spoke from the pillar of cloud, and they did what he said. They kept the law he gave them, and then God, our God, answered them. Lift high, God, our God, lift him high. Worship on his holy mountain. Holy, yes, holy is our God. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. All we will see, how great is our God. Name above all names, worthy to be praised. My heart will sing, how great is our God. And if that modern translation by Chris Tomlin ain't good enough for you, for all you old timers out there, you know what this song is coming at you next. Great is thy faithfulness. Come on now. Great Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning and morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. The gospel, boil it down, is a reminder of that. When's the last time you gave God the glory? Think about it. We give glory to the barista at Starbucks when he or she pours us the most beautiful mocha latte Americana. I don't even know, because I've never bought a Starbucks cup of coffee in my life, and I mean it. People will buy them for me. I refuse to buy Starbucks. If I want a cup of coffee, I make it myself. That's my mom talking. When's the last time we, in the middle of the freaking Timbers game, instead of the goal scorer, thank God they came back and tied it up last night. I wasn't there because I was here rocking out to the Vectors. But anyway, when's the last time you just go, praise the Lord? You don't do that, and I don't do it because people will lock you up. But that's what the gospel is about. That's what the psalmist is about. That's what Paul in 2 Corinthians is about. That's what the hymns are about. It's about recognizing and acknowledging God's glory, a glory, frankly, that we too easily forget unless, we're in the Huskow. You get pulled over for DUI and you're in the Huskow, and now you're praying to God or whatever. But no, praying to God and giving God glory all the time. I remember someone making fun of me and this parish at some diocesan convention. They were like, oh, you guys always say God is good all the time down there in Good Shepherd. And I was like, yeah, we do. I'm telling you the truth. They said to me, that's ridiculous. Why would you say that? And this person had a collar on because I believe it. You come into my office, there's a piece of hickory hanging on the wall, and it says, relax, God is in control. I've had people say, that ain't true. I'm like, believe it. Because when you start going down that slippery slope, when you start not believing that God can make something out of nothing, can take you from nowhere to somewhere, man, you're in trouble. I've been there. And that's a scary place to be. Give God the glory, because God is always pouring out the glory. Oh, man. Jesus, he is not confined to a mountaintop. He is not. And thank God he came down off that mountain. He didn't stay up there and have a little party like Pete wanted. He came down off that mountain. He came down with us where real life happens. And what's the first thing he does when he comes down? Come on, what did he do? He healed. That daddy brought his son who was troubled. Every father and mother, for that matter, who's ever had a baby or ever had a kid they're responsible for, and everyone in this room knows now what I'm talking about. There's got to be some child in your life that you've cared about, that you've loved, and they've gone off the rails, and you don't know what to do. And you're helpless, and you're hopeless, and you cry out to God. And he's there, and Jesus is there, and this guy comes running with his son, he's possessed, and he just gives him to Jesus. Give him to me. I'll take care of him. So right now, if you're a grandma or a grandpa or an aunt or uncle or great aunt and uncle, mom, dad, I don't care who you are, teacher, school coach, whatever, you've got a kid who's down and out, they've gone sideways and upside down, you just keep giving them to Jesus. You can keep giving them to Jesus, and you don't give up on them. You call them, you text them, you never, ever give up, because God never, ever gives up on us. He still heals. He's healing right now. Where there is brokenness, there soon will be reconciliation. When there is instability and war, there soon will be peace. Where there is addiction, there soon will be sobriety. Where there is cancer, there soon will be healing. Where there is sadness, there soon will be joy. Where there is hopelessness, there soon will be hope. How do I know it? Because the voice in the transfiguration moment said, "This is my son. Listen to him." Not Twitter, not Facebook, not this podcast, not that person, not that guy, not that gal. They'll all lead you astray. They led me astray once in my life. But I give God the glory. While I was lost, I was found. While I was dead, I was alive. And my prayer for you and for me as we enter into Lent is, God, give me the grace to listen to you again and again and again. I only want to hear your voice again and again. I want to only listen to your wavelength and again and again and again.